Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd, starring Eric Christian Olsen, Derek Richardson, Rochelle Nichols, Mimi Rogers, Cherry O'Terry, Eugene Levy, Louise Guzman, Eldon Henson, William Lee Scott, and Lynn Shay, directed by Troy Miller. Now, I remember going to theaters for a graduation reason after I graduated for the final year of junior high school. And what do I think of it? Well, I thought it would be hilarious, but is it going to remain the same when I see it again after all these years as a teenager to adult? Let's find out, shall we? We open with the birth of Harry Dunn in the year 1969, as we see him 8 years later calling the cops to save his imaginary friend named Captain Rob, and another 10 years as a high school student played by Derek Richardson, as he's starting his first day of actual school in the year 1986. While he was homeschooled all his life, and he's now a senior while he has a treasure map from Captain Rob, and he's a lame character, and we meet a lamer character named Lloyd Christmas, played by Eric Christian Olsen, getting ready for the new year at school, and the janitor's closet with the janitor Ray, played by Louise Guzman, as Lloyd goes the wrong way to school and bumps into Harry after being chased by a dog, and Harry and Lloyd meet each other for the first time, and they walk to school together by playing You're It, or It as I call it. I don't know, it's called tag. What the hell am I talking about? When they arrive at school and see Jessica Matthews, played by Rochelle Nichols, who will grow up later to be in G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra, sadly, as well as Turk, played by Eldon Henson from the Daredevil Netflix series. And how do I feel about these characters? Last time I said they were stupid and stupider. Well, here, like I brought up before, they're lame and lamerer. To quote Richard Roper on Even or Roper back in the days, they're absolutely pathetic. Principal Collins makes up a special needs class to take the money from other schools, and Harry and Lloyd have a classroom in the lunch kitchen with Ms. Heller, and they recruited other special needs kids, for example, Toby, Turk, who I brought up before, Carl, Ching Chong, and Lewis, played by an early Shia LaBeouf right after he did Holes and before his rise to fame or whatever. And the writing and directing in this is much worse than in the first movie, while Lloyd has dinner and sleepovers at Harry's place. And Mrs. Dunn, played by Mimi Rogers, briefly, is happy Harry made a good friend with Lloyd. And what was weird is Mrs. Dunn kisses both Harry and Lloyd in the head, as Lloyd is led to believe she's in love with him, which she's not, as this is just lame. Principal Collins takes a picture of the special needs class, as Principal Collins asks Miss Heller to take more pictures of the special needs class, while Lloyd teaches the classroom for the day. And Harry and Lloyd meets with Ray, and Carl brings his girlfriend Terry. And how much sense does this movie make? Zero. While it goes absolutely nowhere, and Harry and Lloyd go to a slushie store or whatever and try to get a slushie for $2.50 for two guys, forcing the cashier to play tag with them, and says the line that they would say in the first movie, and they don't end up paying the man and getting a brain freeze. And these guys have zero chemistry, as this movie tells the worst story in this entire series, in my opinion, which happens to be a prequel. Principal Collins and Miss Heller dance together as he says their special needs class is in the Thanksgiving parade, while next day comes and Harry and Lloyd find their school bus and the other special needs kids show up, and Miss Heller comes off evil to Margie, played by Insidious's Lynn Shay. Why is she here? I don't know, and I guess she needed the paycheck. I couldn't tell you. As the bus driver, Jessica follows behind them and is eventually stopped by a truck, and they arrive at a museum and take more photos of the special needs kids, and Jessica tells Harry the special needs class is a scam, and she asks him, excuse me, to come to her house to talk about what Principal Collins is doing, while Harry and Lloyd are led to believe she wants to date Harry, as he buys her chocolate and gets her house, while she asks about Principal Collins and Ms. Heller, and Harry melts the chocolate, making it look like number good old number 2, or as I like to call it, Dump. And at first I thought it was crap, but as it turns out, it was chocolate and messes up the family bathroom as her mother asks Harry to stay for dinner, and this is so predictable and bad. Lloyd comes to the house with an oil slick and visits Harry to say what he said and talks to Jessica like crap, and suddenly meets her father, Walter, as I think. And Lloyd says good luck to Harry, and Jessica sees him, and they both come to the door, and Lloyd says he has a key to the principal's office, and she asks him to take her there, excuse me. And next thing you know, Lloyd has a fantasy of Jessica and Miss Dunn and having to make out contest. Harry witnesses it as Lloyd farts and gives Jessica flowers and his mixtape and look around Principal Collins' office. It didn't find anything, but after she leaves, Lloyd finds a treasure chest filled with stuff, and Harry and Lloyd alienate each other for a while. And do I care about this? Absolutely not, because it's lame. Lloyd surprises Harry with the polar bear from the museum that he messed with earlier and become best friends again, while Principal Collins loses his treasure chest, and Miss Heller asks for an idea for the Thanksgiving parade that they earned for having a special needs class. And Lewis gets an idea that Lloyd announces about George Washington and the $1 bill, and I'm just checked out of this movie at this point. It's so bad. Principal Collins kidnaps Jessica to ask her where his chest is at, and by chest, I mean treasure chest. She doesn't know, while Harry and Lloyd are taunted by the slushie store clerk and gives the kid $5 to buy them a couple of slushies to taunt the store clerk. And they see Jessica and Principal Collins and Harry and Lloyd does a stunt like Jackass with a shopping cart to go after them, as well as an ice cream and hot dog trucks. And he finds Lloyd's mixtape and listens to it while Harry and Lloyd get to Jessica, and Lloyd brings up about a treasure chest in Principal Collins' office. And they go to the tool shed where the classroom is and breaks the treasure chest open as they find a tape in it with some evidence of what Principal Collins and Miss Heller has planned for the special needs class. And I want this movie to please end. We learn Ching Chang speaks perfect English and learns her real name is Cindy, while they also learn about Principal Collins stole $2 million, and they expose him in the Thanksgiving parade, and the cops come in and arrest Principal Collins, as well as Miss Heller. And they free Jessica, and Jessica reunites with her boyfriend, and Harry and Lloyd walk home. And twin sisters named Fletcher, one of them Frida, like as one cheated on Harry many years ago, as we learned in the first movie, and ditched him, and Lloyd by putting mud on Harry and get ran over by Jessica's father, which looked like a dummy. They walk away from Jessica's father, and credits roll with some bloopers on the side, as I didn't care, as I was glad it was all over at this point. I don't care for this climax. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 1.2 out of 10. This movie tells the worst story in not just the series, but in movie history, as last time it was called Stupid and Stupider, whereas this one is Lame and Lamerer, and these are very unlikable characters. The writing and directing is very poor by director Troy Miller, as I was checked out by the first hour of the movie, and I just wanted it to please end. And when credits rolled and bloopers started, I didn't really care about the climax nor any of this movie, as this is one of the worst movies I've seen. I can't believe I forgot how bad this movie was from the get-go as an adult, and this is the strongest non-recommendation, as it's one of the worst, but not the very worst movie I've ever seen, in my opinion. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Dumb and Dumber 2 with the T.O. this time. And until then, you're it.